Okay, so now here is something I have been wanting to talk about. Or maybe not so much I was wanting to talk about, but I should talk about it. And that is, like, if when you get older and you look back to people, like, you say you come from a dysfunctional family. And I know a lot of people say, who doesn't? But no, there are actually people who don't come from dysfunctional families. Maybe, like with me, that's pretty much all I've ever seen. But yeah, they do exist. And but maybe if you've come from a dysfunctional family, and it's been decades since you were actually living at home with your parents or a parent, and your siblings or none, sibling or none. Cousins maybe, some, or in a home, a different type of, foster home or something. But it's been decades, and you've had time to reflect, or you have seen everybody grow up, or some of them grow up. And what happens when you get to see, and you see them, and you look back and remember who they were then, and thoughts about that. Yeah. Okay. I just remembered one of the reasons this is on my mind, and like I said, the people you grew up around could be friends, really close friends from like really young, or just people you went to school with that you started off really young and you saw them all the way through high school. You saw them from kindergarten onward. And but the thing about it is that I wanted to focus on, I don't know if too many people who have been victims of like really rotten people from childhood, if they are really toxic people, that they look at things this way too often. And that is to look back at the people that when they see them, or maybe like happened to me with Facebook, and they say, what happened to them? And you think, tend to think, I'm disappointed in them. Because you do have to question, what's going on here? That you feel like you're disappointed in them, and who are you to feel that way, good or bad? Well, why are you being judgmental, or are you being judgmental? Or are you simply seeing the difference between good and bad, or you're seeing right or wrong, discernment, which you should do, like maybe you were thinking of going to a class reunion or something, and that person might be there, and should you spend any time around that person, that's you should think that way. You should find out and decide in your own mind, is this somebody I want to spend any time with while I'm there? Or are they bad influences, or were they then and you were too young to see it, and now you see it and you should move away? You should not be around them. You avoid such people, like it says in 2 Timothy 3. You can read it, start 2 Timothy 3, and avoid such people. So, okay, and the reason, that's on my mind is because I did see somebody I grew up with, just saw their Facebook posts and such, and there's a lot of them, people I went to school with, and this person, in a way, is not really disappointed. In a way, yes. But it's like, what must have happened over all these decades to have that person become what they are today? And I'm going to say, it's not a good person now. No. Then yes, kind of, pretty much so, and now definitely not. yeah, and that of, if I went there, no way would I spend time, or would I? Would I? I remember when I was young, and I'm talking about this time I was young. I was in high school, and I had known, I had a friend, and she had a friend, and I wasn't friends with her friend, and her friend was very religious. It was one of the religions back then that I would question. I think I did back then. Might not have had the right wording for it, but was it a cult? Seriously. And she was a member. My friend's friend was a member of that. And I remember she was very Christian, and she made some comments and something about this. About her. Whoa, a bird flew by like crazy. but some of it was she would say things like she was holier than thou, but not like you'd think. But she still seemed to be acting superior and like snubbing her nose. Okay, and that's around that time that church was building their own place with their kids, the kids that were part of the congregation, I guess you call it, and would go to school there. They didn't want their kids in this public schools, so they're making their own. Okay, wow. Okay, I had to delete a clip because it sounded all kinds of wrong. Okay, let me try this again. I'm having this trouble with the allergies. But I had to delete a clip, and I was saying in it, this teenager, she was in my grade. We were in a class, I think it was typing. Okay, typing. And I was there, my friend and her friend. And her friend was talking about their about the school that their church was opening for just them. And I was a Christian too. I was not a member of that church, was not. And she was talking about my friend's friend, and at some point, she had a superior attitude, like they were something really special because they're going to that church, and people like me were not. Okay, I'm dealing with these allergies, unbelievable. But I've always been a nice person, and I always give people the benefit of the doubt, or I always give them a second chance. Always, well, not really so much these days, but back then, I was a teenager, and she kind of went on, and I never really liked her. I didn't like her attitude, her superior. Especially when she was talking about it. I have a vague memory. That was a long time ago. But like she was holier than thou. Like she was better. Like she, they're the true and one and only who were living the right way. And I know that that's the thing with a lot of churches. They're the only ones. They're preachers. They're clergy people are the only ones who really know. Some of them, not all of them. But anyway, she went on, and eventually, I'm not the type to want to put somebody in their place. No, because don't put me in my place. Who are you? And who am I? But she kept going on. No but, like in that sense. But and I'm like, but wait a minute. I was, I am and was then a Christian, and I said, isn't it that Christians are supposed to be examples for other people who have yet to find the right way, who have yet to find God? And there's this weird bird, I'm telling you, it's flying through here, and it's flying weird. I think it's the second time it's a cardinal. But anyway, back to this. You know, I was sincere. I mean, I really was questioning it. And at the same time not. And at the same time I knew, yes, we were supposed to be examples for other people. And so her saying that, you know, their church was going to keep them out of public schools, and they didn't have to be around people who went to public schools, kids who were bad influences, kids who didn't know the right way, kids who weren't in the right churches. So they wanted to be only around people, you know, the right church. The one only their congregation's kids to only be around others that are in that. And that's all. Nobody else. And like I told her, really, it wasn't really a question. Aren't we supposed to be examples? Okay. Yeah. Okay, now I do remember back then, you know, her, and the way I felt it might have been more than the way it was, or I still feel it now, but I think it was, that she was shocked, that she was woken up when I asked that question, because she knew the answer was yes. We are, you know, we Christians, not, you know, I did not go to her church, she did not go to mine. We Christians are supposed to be examples of what to do right. We're not supposed to be examples of evil and what to do wrong. We're supposed to be good, decent people. And as we all know, you know, back then, I'm telling you, I don't know if it was considered a town or a really small city, you know, back then. But it was one, you know, I think it's up to the people themselves. They want to call it a town or a city, but it was a town where pretty much if you didn't know somebody, you knew somebody who probably knew them, you know, that kind of thing. Or they knew somebody who knew them, you know. Not many people existed living there without being known. That's the way we felt about it. Okay, and like it had, I think, 3 elementary schools, had 1 junior high. We did not have a middle school. I think the middle school came a few years later, after I had passed through it. And I think we had the middle school and the junior high. They had it there, but and 1 high school. And so many people related because of that fact. 1 high school, and there are a lot of people who knew people, and so on and so forth. But anyway, get back to this. When I said that, I saw the look on her face. I remember, this is how I remember it, and that she was like, she's right, that I am right. They were supposed to be examples, that we are. And where was I going with this part? But I see so much these days of the people who are putting themselves out there as examples are not. They are that mean evil. They are the opposite of the good decent. You know? And they're putting themselves up as examples. It's starting to get dark, by the way. But it gets darker earlier and earlier, of course. But that is just sad to me. And especially online. My goodness, the people who are, especially those grifters, the people who are online making videos or writing posts. You know, I'm not saying any particular social media platform. I'm not saying that. It's a variety. It could be any of them. Or a variety of whatever.
And they're the ones people are looking at and saying, you know, bless you, thank you, you know, to these people as if they are prophets, or as if they are clergy people. And these people are bad. I mean, really bad. You know, they're so manipulative. False prophets. But anyway, where was I going? Where did I start off with this one? Because I just finished a video. But this, I'm just going with my own flow here as usual. But I'm very saddened by all this. You know, like I was saying, well, I started it off as, you know, being disappointed. And you have to question, is it our, it's not for us to judge in that sense, you know, to say, I remember when I was really young, and this came up yesterday or the day before, whenever it was, recently, that of, you know, you don't damn people. You don't say, you know, oh, you're going to go to hell because of this, because of what you said. You know, we are not to make that, pass that judgment. Okay? That's not for us to decide. And part of it was in my mind because there's somebody who has done me wrong, and you know, my question is, you know, I have to watch myself because I want to say to her, you know, you're not going to go through the pearly gates until you do it, make it right. And that's not for me to decide. That's not for me at all. It's wrong of me to even think that way. It is tough. I mean, I could be wrong on that even. But I'm not one that's going to quote the Bible too much. I can little bits here and there, but not very much. And I am not a guru, you know, or not guru, a voice of authority on what the Bible says and all that, and everything. There are things that I do that I am tuned into, and but this one to me is wrong. You know, feeling that way. But at the same time, it's like, you know, you want to help somebody save their soul. So which way is right? Which way is wrong? And who are we to judge in that respect? That they're not saving their own soul. That they're selling their own soul instead. You know, is it our right to think this way as Christians, you know? I mean, I'm still asking these questions all these years later. But, you know, I'm watching this show, Touched by an Angel, because I was never much into TV. And I decided to start watching this. I like series, and I like when they have a lot of series. And this one, I think it's 9. And they're like 20, past the first one, I think they're all in their 20s, how many episodes they have. And they're like 40-something minutes each. So that fits what I like to watch. And I like this topic, so also, not just that reason, but the topic. And it in a way, I mean, there's stuff, you know, like I like this show, the series, The Chosen. I really like that. And, but you know, I learn stuff new, so it brings up questions. You know, some of the things it brings up is something that I want to learn more about, you know. And my stomach is growling, so I think I probably should go in and eat. It's 8:13, 8:14 just turned it, as I was saying it. Turned 8:14, August 21st, 2025. And I haven't eaten, so I'm going to wrap this up. But, yeah, that one woman, you know, from the start, not the friend's friend, but from the start, the one woman, I really wonder what happened to her. Because what she was portraying, and I mean as in for tattoos, and in her words, what she'd written, what she talks about, is darkness. Very dark. Very dark. So, anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. Talk to you on another video. Bye.